Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's go. Look, in this video, what we're going to talk about is, as a man, what are the three things you've got to prioritize in order to live an effective life? So whether you are a woman right now, I'm sure this can apply to you too. But specifically, whatever applies to you as a woman, add it, eat the meat, spit out the bones. But specifically as a man, these are the three things that you need to focus on. You need to focus on this. Otherwise, your life is going to be a living hell. Are you ready for this? Let's go. So, the reason why I'm talking about this, and let me share this with you. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I see many men going down the rabbit hole of living a living hell because they're not prioritizing a couple of things. And let me share this with you. We are not prioritizing our inner world, and I'm going to explain this more in detail. We're not prioritizing our inner world. We are not prioritizing our outer world. Major salute to whatever happened there on TikTok. We're broadcasting live right here. I think that was a gift or something. Don't you dare distract me right there. Okay, keep it coming though. Appreciate it. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe on my YouTube channel, Randall Mitchell on YouTube. Of course, on TikTok, Randall Mitchell. But if you want a behind the scenes look, Instagram is the place, because that's where we're going to do a little behind the scenes action. So Instagram is the same thing, Randall Mitchell. So let's talk about it. We're going to talk about our inner health, our outer health, and also our spiritual health. These are the three core areas that you need to focus on a daily basis. Let's talk about it. Let's prioritize and focus on right now our inner health. Look, meditation is not just for yogis. Meditation is just not for a woman going to Starbucks and then grabbing and doing a meditation session. Meditation is so key, and I tell you why. Meditation is the pathway to you being connected to your Creator. And let's go deeper. With everything that's happening with us right now in this world with marketing, marketing is meant for our attention to be absorbed. Look, there are billion-dollar companies that has invested millions and millions, if not billions of dollars, to figure out how do we get this person's attention. How do we do that? What do we have to do to grab this person's attention? And if you're not aware of this, you're going to be suckered in. Meditation says, I'm going to block the world. I'm going to block out the world for a couple of minutes. And I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on my breathing. And I'm going to focus on my Creator. This is the power of meditation. If you cannot set aside 5 minutes a day, my encouragement to you is make sure you set at least 5 minutes a day to be able to sit still, get a comfortable place, and do the box breathing that I shared with you in a previous video, where it's 4 breaths in, or rather breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, being quiet for 4 seconds, and repeating the cycle, the box breathing. The amazing thing that happens after meditation has been done repeatedly for years and years and years, you become so grounded that nothing hits you off your square. Nothing hits, it's very hard for something to hit you off your square. Before meditation, anything that anyone says that rubs you the wrong way, you easily go into a cycle. Anything easily ticks you off. And my encouragement is that when we incorporate meditation and practice it over a long period of time, it's almost like you are unshakable. It's almost like you are unwavering. In the Bible, it says, meditate on my word day and night. And meditation. So the first thing we're talking about is our inner world. This is the first pillar. Inside, the inner work. Let's go even deeper. Now, many of these concepts is myself really just skimming over it because it is hours and hours and hours work of unfolding with certain concepts that I'm really just brushing over, right? It has to really be taken seriously when it comes to the time it takes for it to be expounded. But just for the sake of time, we're just skimming over certain concepts. Now let's go deeper from meditation. Let's go to trauma, past trauma. Because we can meditate all we want. Past trauma is such a big thing, especially for us as humans, that our lives are dictated so much by the trauma that we still hold inside of our bodies and hold inside of our minds. Many times we react to certain things. Many times we choose to do certain things because of past trauma. And without doing any trauma release therapy, without using meditation, the trauma is going to run our lives over and over and over. And you're thinking, why can't I get over certain things? It's because that trauma hasn't been released. If you're ever on YouTube, I'd encourage you to type in trauma release meditation. And when you do that meditation, that kind of meditation, it does help. It may not help completely, but it's one step closer to where you need to be. So let's go even deeper. So we spoke about meditation. We spoke about trauma. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go to social conditioning. Now, social conditioning is such a sneaky one because over the years, it's almost like there's an analogy of a frog being put in a pot in water, and the pot of water is turned up slowly. So it's going from 0, 20, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. And all of a sudden, it's at 180 degrees. It's at a high temperature, and that frog is still in there. Why? Because it's been slowly but surely turned up. And social conditioning has been the same way, where over the years, we've been programmed slowly but surely. Small things has programmed us. Small things. A funny example is myself when, and this is a silly example, but it just illustrates the point. Back home in South Africa, there's a famous restaurant called Spur, S-P-U-R. It's a steakhouse, but it's a family-friendly one. Kids go there, they enjoy it. There's a playground, everything. And when I was a kid, I used to go there, especially when it comes to special occasions. And in my teenage years, I went there. In my adult years, I went there. And whenever I go back home every year. I've been 13 years out of the country, and every year I go back home. And whenever I go back home, I want to go to Spur. That's the first place I want to go to because I just miss, there's so much memories there. And my brother always teases me is because, and he says, you know what, that's the social conditioning of us always wanting space. Hey, we gotta change. You gotta do, Randall. You gotta change your taste buds. You gotta get out of that spur thinking. Now, of course, it's a silly example because Spur, it's sentimental to me. Wherever we went, I had great memories over there, especially that white sauce by Spur. No Diddy, that white sauce by Spur. Myself and my cousin Bruce, when we remember we went there once, and we take the Spur, and that white sauce is so good over those onion rings and the chips. So I remember when we were kids, we didn't have a lot of money, so we went to Spur, me and him alone, and we bought fries, the onion rings, and we just drenched that in white sauce, and we were so in our element. But that's a silly example to kind of illustrate the point that, hey, there are certain things that we just do subconsciously. Now, Spur is not a bad example. It's a good example. It's nothing's harming us. But there are other examples that is really detrimental to our psyche and also really detrimental to our body as well. So let's take a couple of things that's really bad when it comes to the social conditioning that has happened over the years. I remember when, as a family, a pop, like cool drink, is a big deal. Like when there's no cool drink in the home, when there's no pop in the home, ai en dan dink hulle hy shame as my swa nie huis en as niks coke in die huis en it's going tough in the home because there's no cool drink. And of course, coming now to Canada and just exposing myself to a different way of life, whether it's good or bad, that's not me to judge, a different way of life, and seeing how, and just doing my own research, and just growing mentally when it comes to nutrition, and realizing how bad Coke is, how bad the sugar is, the sugar content in Coke, and how junk food is a way for the system to keep us addicted, the system to keep us in a derp state, so that keeping us addicted, so that marketers can sell us when we are addicted and when we are in a derp state, when we don't have full control over our prefrontal cortex. This is the front part of our brain that deals with decision making, that deals with willpower. Marketers has realized, and especially these companies, these fast food companies, is that when we can keep them addicted to something, it takes the power from our prefrontal cortex away. And when we don't have our willpower and our decision making anymore, that's when marketers can really, and great salespeople can now sell us because we are weak over here. And it's this vicious cycle of keeping us addicted, selling us more of what we're addicted to. It's like a drug dealer and a drug addict, right? Similar to social media. Are you consuming or are you creating? Are you the drug addict or are you the drug dealer? Hey, we're not promoting drug dealing, hey? But you know what I mean? So the social conditioning is it's so sneaky, so sneaky. Man, okay. So we got the internal. We spoke about meditation, trauma, and now social conditioning. That's one area, especially as I'm speaking to men right now. However, women can surely glean from this as well. If you want to take control of your life, you've got to focus on your internal, which deals with those three. Got it? Salute to those that's currently live here with me online. Salute to you. I see those comments over there. If you haven't already, make sure to hop over to my YouTube channel, Randall Mitchell, to be, to find this kind of content on a regular. Make sure to do that. So let's talk about the next pillar. The next pillar is your internal environment, or rather your external environment. We just spoke about the internal. So as a guy, look, also as a woman too, as a guy, you should make sure that your body remains in shape. And it's not because of vanity. It's because of a couple of things. And let me share this with you. When you are out of shape as a man, and you have a high body fat percentage. As a man, if you have a high body fat percentage, if you are leaning over 30%, for example, there's a high chance that your testosterone levels are low. And this is crucial and this is detrimental because as a man, if your testosterone levels are low and your estrogen levels are high, a couple of things occur. You are more moody, you are more emotional, you lack drive in terms of your motivation. You also lack drive in terms of your boom boom activity. I don't want to say the words because YouTube is very sensitive when it comes to that. So your boom boom activity lowers, and also you lack this level of ambition, which is very important as a man. So you can see the ripple effect that occurs when you let yourself go as a man. On the other hand too, look, whether you like it or not, you are being judged every day. And we are not coming from a space of we need to prove ourselves to others and we need to, walk this perfect line because other people are looking at us. Initially, it needs to start with you feeling proud of you as a man, right? As a man, does your kids look up to you and say, hey, when I grow up, I want to be like daddy, Are you your kid's superhero? Now, mind you, we all don't look like The Rock, and I'm not saying this in the video that we need to have this chiseled body, the 8-pack abs, this broad shoulders, this tiny waist. What I am saying though is if you're not working towards getting yourself in your best shape for you, then as we say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're not focusing on making sure that your body is, in the best shape for you, the question is why? Is it because of a lack of time management where you're not managing your time enough to be able to prioritize taking a walk around the block or going to the gym? Is it a case of where you've just lost all hope as a guy and said, you know what, I've just given up hope. I don't have money in the bank. I don't look good. Why would women even want to be with me? Now, on the one hand, you are correct. You are correct. That is a valid question. Why would women want to be with someone that's overweight, with someone that's broke, with someone that has a lack of ambition? Why? And this is not me being condescending. This is not me being out of line right here. This is really coming out of a space of love, because many of us has never been spoken to directly. Many of us hasn't received direct and candid feedback. Why? Because many of us are living in this silo where we are just wanting to get good feedback to protect our ego and our self-esteem. But my challenge to you is, and this has been a nugget The moment someone challenged me on my limiting beliefs and my negative thinking was the moment that change occurred in my life. Whenever I get coached by a coach, they push you. They ask you those uncomfortable questions. So they asked me literally, so Randall, I'm so glad you're on this coaching call right now. What would you like out of this session? Well, coach, I'd like to be able to see how I can improve my finances, my fitness, my relationships. That's essentially why I'm here. Then they would ask, okay, so let's deal with the one area. Let's pretend this is me and you right now. Let's just pretend for a second. Then they would ask you, okay, so let's take your fitness. Stand up for a second, take your shirt off, let me see what's going on. And then you would go ahead, you would stand up right now, you would show them, okay, you would show them. And then let's say, for example, I was a little bit more out of shape right now. They would then ask me, so what happened to you? Why did you let yourself go? Then I would say, you know what, life has just been hectic right now. I didn't have the time. Then they would go even deeper. Why don't you have the time? You don't have an hour a day or 30 minutes a day to work out? And then I would be like, you know what, you're right. And then he would say, is it because you didn't prioritize it? Is it because you were lazy? And I would have to then sit there in shame, whether I liked it or not. I had to sit there in shame and be like, yeah. And then you would go even deeper. And then you would ask, so why haven't you prioritized your health? And he goes even deeper and asks, Randall, why don't you love yourself where you prioritize your health? And when he asks me this, I have to now really do introspection. Like, why don't I prioritize my health? Why is my self-love so low? And then there we have to now do some internal work, which you spoke about previously. The meditation, the trauma release, the social conditioning. And then we would take every other area of our lives, every other area of my life. Then we would go into the finances and relationships. And what I've discovered with doing coaching is when those hard questions was being asked, it always boiled down to myself not valuing myself. It always boiled down to a self-esteem, a self-worthiness issue. And maybe you are watching this right now and this is hitting home for you. If this is hitting home for you, I'm really glad, because I want to let you know that there's hope. There is the fact that you are watching this right now, the fact that you are breathing. I want you to know that there is hope. And there's hope because if you can breathe, and apart from you having, major illnesses, you are able to now focus on the internal. You are now able to now focus on the external, which we just spoke about. And then we're able to move, and let's talk about the third pillar. As a man, what you'd really need to focus on. And if you are still watching this right now, major salute to you over here online. A major salute to you. I see you over there. Make sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel. We are about to reach 1K. We want to reach 1K before September ends. I know we're going to do it, so make sure the link's in the bio. So the first thing we spoke about is, as a man, working on your internal. And then secondly, working on your external. And we just spoke about it now. We spoke about fitness, but it also applies to finances as well. Everything in this 3D realm, everything that's in this external world of ours, we need to prioritize. Number 3, our connection to God. Now, this is important, and the reason why you need to focus on really solidifying your relationship with God is for this one major reason. And it might sound very simple, but I really want you to really grasp what I'm about to say. When you become so solid in your relationship with your Creator, what tends to typically happen is you tend to come now from a space of being whole. You now don't come from a space of wanting things because your self-esteem is lacking, because your self-worth is low, because your self-love is not there. You're now coming from a space of feeling complete. And this is important because when you feel complete, and I've done a previous video on this, I want you to check it out. I think it's the one before this, but I'm just going to give us the synopsis. When we feel complete, and when we come from a space of wholeness, now when we acquire the money, when we acquire the body, we're coming now from a space of, I'm not acquiring this because I want people's approval. I'm acquiring these things now out of a space of completeness, out of a space of already being fulfilled. And this is a much more powerful space to come from. Because number one, when you come from this space, everything that you acquire will last long. You will retain whatever you acquired for much longer compared to someone that got it quick or got it from after a long time, but their internal foundation and their connection to God was on a shaky foundation. Does that make sense? It comes from a shaky foundation. And I know you and I don't want to acquire things and get things and it disappear and it's very fleeting. That's very demotivating and it's very despondent. You become very despondent when you get something and it fleets. You get something and it fleets. Very despondent. That's where you see incidences like we see in the media, like your Whitney Houstons, your Elvis Presleys, your Michael Jacksons, is where, and I'm just really oversimplifying this, I really don't know their mental state with where they were in. I can only assume. But based on observation, it was very much a case of where they received the wealth, they received the fame, but they received it from a space of lack, and because of that, they couldn't handle it. And my encouragement to you is that as a man watching this right now, you might focus on these 3 areas simultaneously every day as you walk through your life. Not individually, not saying, hey, I'm just going to work on my external, so I'm just going to work on my body and not focus on the internal and spirituality. It needs to grow simultaneously. It needs to grow simultaneously. That's how you live a life of balance. And we spoke about that by using time management. That's my encouragement to you. Focus on these things on a daily basis and really be intentional with putting in effort with these 3 areas and see your life transform. All right? Make sure to subscribe. We're pumping videos out on a regular basis. And if you resonate with anything I said, make sure you put it in the comments below. If there's any area that you kind of have an opposite viewpoint on, I'd like to see it too. And make sure to share this and help someone else as well. Remember, we are not here just to survive, but we are here to thrive. And until next time, peace. Bye. Yes, sir.